Hey everybody, this is Ben, and I just wanted to make a quick video, not a full vlog with all three features, but a couple topics I wanted to talk about, and eBay is hot, so perfect time to pop out a quick little video. And right now eBay is heating up. One of the sellers, Guardian958, they had a bunch of stuff up, and it was like kind of a little bit overpriced arguably, and some of them seem to have been relisted as like cheap auctions. So right now I've got my favorite search up, which is Pirate CSG auctions with at least one bid, sorted by ending soonest, and you can find a link to that in the description. And so the pack lot ending today, but anyway, so there's a Ghostly Revenant, and then there's a bunch of DJC LEs actually, which is interesting. So I'm just going to click on El Plutone right here. So there's a bunch of these up. I don't know if they have all of them. That one's by a different seller. Yeah, Eat Watchers. So those are starting at 99 cents. So that'll be interesting to see what they go for, especially because there's a lot at once. So there's a chance that some of them might not go for a lot of money rather than if they were, released one at a time. So the Salem is one of the ones I would want. That one's already at $7. So those are really rare. They might not be fetching quite as much money as they used to. I kind of feel like people in the community don't care quite as much about collecting like some of the super rare stuff. I could be wrong. I just feel like some of the super collectors are pretty satisfied now that it's like 2019 and a lot of people have a lot of stuff. So anyway, but that's kind of more of a theory. So there's a Grand Wind up, Jade 6 Master, but what I'm actually interested in, and I might bid on something, I don't know yet, probably not, but who knows. Some of those lots up from different sets started at a lower starting bid. So the DJC one is already at $26, but some of them are still pretty cheap. The Ocean's Edge one looks really good. Of course, it's going to shoot up in price. It's not ending until Sunday at 8 p.m. I guess that's Eastern, hopefully EST USA time. So the OE lot is pretty big. Saw some nice stuff in there. There's a Abandoned Crew LE from Mysterious Islands, which is quite rare. I don't have that one yet. I just have the one from Crimson Coast. There's a Delusion up, so that was cool. So we got a 10 Master in there as well. And these are just ones that are being bid on. So they have other auctions up that are, don't have bids yet, I believe, that same seller. And what's interesting, I might as well go to their page actually too. What's interesting is that they have other stuff up that's still like buy it now, and I'm wondering if people don't buy that, if that's going to go to like an auction, if they're going to relist it as an auction instead. So let me just see this here. So I'm going to search parrots under the same seller. So anyway, hopefully I'm not driving down their prices too much if this happens. Well, actually, I see mostly singles. So maybe some of the lots are already taken down. Yeah, like some of them, I don't know if they would relist those as auctions like they seem to have for the ones that are currently auctions. But anyway, and some of these have such good quantity that I would say that's not even a terrible price. But anyway, it's certainly not compared to some of the other stuff on eBay. It's nice to see stuff like this where you've got a lot of auctions on eBay. Because right now, there's just a ton of overpriced stuff. A lot of the buy it now stuff on eBay, and especially Amazon, it's just the prices are just not good at all. It's just really expensive to buy pirates without getting a deal through an auction or maybe through a community member or something like that. So I don't know. It's kind of sad sometimes, but that's part of the reason I want to make this video. I find the pirates community or the pirates CSG like fandom more fun when eBay is exciting, just because it's fun to see like what stuff will go for. It's fun to see rare stuff come up once in a while. It's fun to see either what deals people can get or like how high something will go. Like seeing like the Obago Deuce go over 500 in January, stuff like that. So I just find pirates a little bit more fun when there's interesting stuff going on eBay. And this is a lot that looks pretty solid too. 75 different ships. A similar lot with some actual rares went for only like $15, I think. Similar shipping, I think around $8. So that was a really good deal that somebody got. So this one's similar, but I don't see any rares. I do see a few special editions from OE. So I would say this is definitely worth going after too. So that was kind of interesting to me, but the set quality is not great. OE and Rise of the Fiends don't have a lot of exciting ships. Some of the commons and uncommons are decent though, so not bad. I think for the quantity, for the price, it looks pretty nice right now at least. So, and then the another seller, the Guardian 958 one, has South China Sea's LE ships. So that's, I don't know if that's a full set or not. I'm not gonna peruse it too much, but there's definitely some duplicates. But there's a ton of those LE ships. Those aren't actually that rare or expensive, but that's still, you know, look at them all. Just a ton of them. So, and some of those are pretty good. You know, the Rye, the Emerald, Cor du Leon, or De Leon, I should say, Patagonia, Fortunato, Beast Belly. Those are all some pretty good small ships. So, not a bad lot there. And then you could have like tournament LEs to give away to people if you play with others or have a group or any kind of tournaments going on in the future. So, then I also did a search for Pirate CSG auctions in general. There's some singles up, like some stuff from South China Seas. Some sellers are selling stuff relatively cheap. There's some ships you can get for a couple of dollars, and then if you win a bunch, they might combine shipping. Or actually, this seller I just bought from recently has free shipping. I just got a couple, just 2 things from them, but that was nice. Like the Recreant, that's a good ship, $2 free shipping. I don't have a problem with that. That's not bad at all. Yeah, the Ghostly Revenant is already at almost $12, and it's like high ship. I don't know why the shipping is so high for one ship, but anyway, so that's already at like almost 20. So anyway, so definitely some interesting auctions if you want to check those out. Mysterious Islands 3 packs, and then in the description for the freebie it says that there's an open pack included as well. So this is kind of like 4 packs of Mysterious Islands for around $10 starting bid. Ends Thursday night Eastern, I guess, and free shipping. So that looks solid for now. At least we'll see if people bid on it. And then for the other topics, what makes a ship boring? I was almost going to make this a specific video, but might as well just include it here because it doesn't really need a video on its own. So I like seeing some people on the master spreadsheet. I see at least 2 or I guess 3 other people, so that's cool. Glad people are using it. I have noticed a few mistakes, so I'm sorry about that. I think it was a matter of going through the official WizKid stuff and copying that and combining that with the miniature trading information late last year, like last September or whenever, and going a little bit too fast just because I wanted to get it out and I wanted to get it released and everything. So I just saw HMS Royal Ark in Fire and Steel, even though it's Ark Royal. So I think most of this mistake should be fixed, and some of them are just like copy paste errors from WizKid's official spreadsheets where like it may have been the Royal Ark, like that may have been their intended name originally, and then it was changed when it went to the set. So some of the errors are like legitimate, like original errors in a way from like the 2000s. So anyway, so what makes a ship boring? In my opinion, it's everything. So the Poison Dagger, I would say, is the most perfect kind of like cliche example of a boring ship in Pirate CSG. So the Poison Dagger, Pirate Uncommon, 3 masts is about average because the original ships went from 1 to 5 masts in the first few sets. So, and it got kind of unbalanced towards the top at the end because of 10 masters and like the 8 segment Krakens, but basically a 3 master is right in the middle in terms of size, which I love 3 masters, but I'm just talking about like what makes a ship average too. So, and 3 masters are really common overall because like there's a lot of uncommon 3 masters and plenty of commons. So 10 points, which is totally a normal cost for a 3 master, 3 cargo. The same, I find that ships that have the same amount of cargo as they have mass, that's pretty average and somewhat standard for some of the ships, especially some of the larger ones, like a 4 master with 4 cargo, 5 master with 5. So that's kind of boring. Not that less cargo would be good, but you know, it makes it a little more interesting sometimes. Or if you have way more, like a 4 master with 6 cargo is great. So a 3 master with 3 cargo, super boring. L-base move, I'm pretty sure must be the most common base move in the game. Average, I think average is a tiny bit faster, but across all base moves. But I think L is the most common, I believe. I can't imagine it would be anything else. So that's really boring, honestly. All 3S cannons, I think, I would say, I should run the stats sometime. It would take a while to figure out. I would say 3S cannons are probably the most common in the game as well. 3Ls are pretty common as well, of course, but 3S's are the ones I would say are probably the most common. So everything's super average here. And then this ship gets +1 to her boarding rolls, which is not that great. Doesn't really have much of an effect on the game. The ability is really meh. It doesn't really add any anything to the ships. Uh, it doesn't really add much of anything, so it barely has much of an ability. And I actually went on Captain Mike's site because he actually has a top 10 lists page, which is an amazing resource. His website is awesome. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description, of course. Top 10 most common ship abilities, and right at number 2 is +1 to boarding rolls on 86 ships. So, and schooner is just a ship type keyword. So, and schooners look great. So I'm not gonna. So +1 to boarding rolls is essentially the most common ship ability that's not a ship type keyword ability. So, it's just the poison dagger. This is what makes the ship boring. Average cost, average cargo, average speed, average guns, average ability. Like, there's just nothing about her that gets me excited in any way. And I actually found her by doing a search for 3S cannons on the same ship. So you can actually go through the master spreadsheet and just find other ships like that. So, not that boring ships are anything worth looking up, but in the same set, Frozen North, Mary Antoinette. This one's a little more interesting, and this one has S-board. This is a 4-masted schooner, S plus S speed, but still pretty boring overall. USS Jackson is very similar. And not all ships with all 3S cannons are boring by any means, but and Ocean's Edge had a fair amount of boring ships as well. USS Kentucky's kind of meh. Lake Bonaparte, this is another good example, 4-masted French schooner, +1 boarding rolls, same cargo as she has masts, L move, relatively average point cost for a 4-master, so it just goes on and on. So that's kind of what, in my opinion, what makes a ship boring. If you've listened to the Pirate TSG podcast, you already pretty much knew that. Yeah, the Pioneer is another good example. She's kind of cheap, a little bit of cheap firepower. She's got a few links, but pretty boring. I don't know. And the Pirates have so many interesting and amazing 4-masters. Even more expensive ones like the Bruja from Savage Shores I find pretty cool. So 3S cannons, +1 to boarding rolls, L move, and the same cargo as masts, and a normal point cost. Or maybe probably slightly overpriced, if anything, makes the ship even more boring, because if it's priced properly, you know, that ship, the Poison Dagger could probably be like 7 or 8 points, and she'd be more interesting, because then you might use her. But at 10 points, I mean, just looking at the 3-masted pirate ships, or pirate ships from this set alone, I mean, the Gruesome for 1 point more is pretty much way better. And the Devil's Kiss is a little bit more interesting for the same cost, in my opinion. So, anyway, that's what I think makes a ship boring, and that's why I don't really like using those ships, because they just don't interest me that much. So, anyway. So yeah, Captain Mike's site is pretty awesome. So check that out. There's so much content it takes a long time to get through, but it's a great resource. And then the last topic is from a thread I made. What do you consider the biggest missing thematic element in Pirate CSG? And I just had this random note about how gold is scarce, wind is not. So, and the game kind of has it backwards. So, it's interesting that WizKids never introduced wind, or, they probably should have had it from the start if they were going to do it at all, because it's such a big game mechanic to just add. But I just find it interesting that WizKids didn't use wind in a game all about sailing ships in the Age of Sail, which I think worked out okay. Obviously, the game sold well, and I still love the game. And I just think it would be interesting if it was kind of the opposite. And I guess that would be the question of the day that you can answer if you'd like in the comments. Do you think that it would have been better to go with more wind rules and like a navigation element aspect to it, and more like weather in general, and like have kind of less of an emphasis on gold, rather than how the game is now, where you like dump a ton of coins into the setup for every single game, but then there's no wind, you can just sail wherever you want. So it'd be interesting to hear what people have to say about that. Kind of profit massive amounts of gold versus like realism. So I think it's interesting. So yeah, the game kind of has it backwards. Like gold is like still one of the more scarce metals in the world, and then wind is like the only reason you're ever going to get to the islands in the first place if you don't have a motor with the sailing ships. So it doesn't. I don't know. It's an interesting one to think about. So like gold versus wind is like a debate over which one. There should be way more wind in the game than gold, but there's no wind and there's a ton of gold in every game. So I just find that interesting. So, and again, I don't really have a problem with it, and I've just played the game so much for so long and hardly ever with wind rules that I don't care too much. But it's a great game either way. But anyway, and speaking of wind, actually, the battle report I'm working on now, I'm trying to do one per day, but right now I'm working on the experimental cumulative game, which was a week-long game in January 2016. So I'm republishing that. It has over 200 pictures, so that one, I don't think I'll finish it today, but I don't know. So that one will come out this week. That's why there wasn't a report yesterday. I started working on that, and I haven't finished it yet. So, and then speaking of which, that would show up in recent posts if it was posted. And speaking of which, I posted in the news and updates thread on Pirates of Ben forum about this new eBay affiliate RSS feed that I'm working on, or not really working on, but I have it up now, and I think I'm going to disable some of the like info about the lots. So that's something I'm looking into to try to monetize the site more. So I might play around with like what shows up there or what type of feed. And then also I think I'm going to delete the info because you can't. There might not be a good way to make the bid now and add to watch list buttons actually work. So maybe even by the time you see this video, they might be gone, that stuff. But anyway, then I can also adjust like how many things show up, like 5 or 10. Right now it's at 10 items, but luckily the page speed didn't decrease. I tested the page speed in at least one, I think both the page speed test users I usually normally use, like GTmetrix, and the forum page speed didn't seem to decrease even after adding that widget. So that's really cool. So anyway, so check out the links in the description, eBay, Captain Mike's site, and then of course feel free to answer if you think that there should have been more wind and less gold in the game, or if you're fine with it now and prefer it the way it is. So thanks for watching, and see you again for more Pirates content.